Welcome to Florida Focus, a college football podcast. My name is Brandon, and I am a lifetime Florida State Seminole fan.
And I am Chris, and I am a stupendous Florida Gator fan.
And we are putting aside our differences as rivals to bring you the fantastic world of college football throughout the Sunshine State. We are here to talk about the NFL Draft for 2019, Chris. And we've talked about it last year, and we're probably going to talk about it every single year. What were your initial impressions on how it went overall in Nashville?
I was really cool that they were doing it in Nashville outside, and of course it rained. But there's a lot of people. Maybe it was just the way it was set up down narrow. I guess they call it Broadway, the street there.
Right.
But it looked like a lot of people, and I'm glad that they're rotating it, and you get to see the local people get excited. And it was pretty cool. Really cool event. I will admit, though, the outside of the occasional where's the quarterback going to go, it really wasn't an exciting first round. Or, just there's a lot of linemen and
sure.
D linemen, which is, I guess, cool. But not many receivers or running backs, stuff like that. But once the Cardinals picked Murray, then everything else was just kind of whatever.
Right.
Overall. But I still like the fact that they went to Nashville and they're going to rotate cities. I think it's a good idea.
Yes, I agree with the local flavor, and you get to have some kind of premier NFL event where you are. Go out and stand and boo the commissioner.
Right.
Whatever. I guess I think we should be over that. These guys, this is one of the biggest moments of their life, if not the biggest, and that's what they walk on stage to. It's weird.
Yeah.
So, yes, I generally agree with that. I think that the weather made it feel a little more uncomfortable, I would assume, but it didn't seem to deter anybody.
Right.
Great. So we will follow our usual format for schools. We'll vary it up a little bit. But I'm going to let you start, Chris, as always, with the Florida Gators. There were 5 picks. Tell me what your thoughts were on where they went and why.
All right. I was a little surprised that the players didn't get drafted as high as they did. Our highest pick was Juwan Taylor, the tackle. He was in the second round. And he was a guy that was in some mock drafts as high as 7th overall. And most of them had like the middle of the first round. But to go all the way to the second round, I think it was the 3rd pick in the second round. But to not get drafted in the first round, that was kind of surprising to me. I know he had like a little bit of an injury during the combine. But to see him fall a little bit was a little bit of a shock to me. And then Ja'Kai Polite he was a 3rd round pick. In the initial mock drafts, he was a first rounder, but he had an awful combine, especially the interview process. He kind of failed at that a lot and didn't make the smartest responses to questions, and that really knocked him down a lot. And so I was surprised that I'm not surprised. That's kind of fitting. 3rd round is where he should have ended up. Now, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, a D-back safety, he was in the 4th round. I thought he'd get selected a little bit earlier. And then we have a couple of 5th rounders with Voshon Joseph and Jordan Scarlett. Scarlett I thought should be drafted higher, and Voshon I really didn't know where he would end up, and I think he should have stayed because he went earlier. But this shows if he stayed one more year at Florida, he definitely, I think, would be 3rd round pick, 2nd round pick. So I don't know if that was the smartest decision, but yeah, too late now, right? But we did break a streak. I think it was 6 years in a row where we had a 1st round draft pick, and that streak was broken. And I thought for sure Taylor would be continuing that streak, but he didn't. Taylor went to the Jags, which I think was a good fit for them. They are trying some new things, especially at quarterback.
Yep. So
getting some help with that. Ja'Kai Polite goes to the Jets. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson goes to the Saints. Voshon, Buffalo, and Jordan Scarlett in Carolina, which I think he might be a sleeper pick, and is going to fit real well into that offense.
Okay. my initial thoughts, I really didn't know why Ja'Kai Polite slipped so low. You know, you think maybe a second, the lowest third was a bit shocking. Voshon Joseph, I think I talked with somebody, and there was a lot that he had to work on, but Grantham's system kind of covered up maybe some of those fallacies. Right. So I guess, state of the year, I wasn't sure on his eligibility if he even had that option.
Yeah.
Yep.
But maybe he saw the writing on the wall. It's like, listen, this is the highs I'm going to get. Let's get out now. Maybe because he had a great year.
Right.
So maybe he realized, hey, this is it for me. Let's
right.
just ride this wave while I can.
My stock will never be higher, and it sometimes is about timing. Absolutely.
Right. Sorry.
Yep. So Jordan Scarlett, as a non-Gator fan, I would assume the 5th round is about where you want to go. As a running back in general, I kind of think you need to go as early as you can because of risk of injury and stop giving away your best years for free.
I think it was a good decision for him, though, because the backfield at Florida, it was crowded, and he had a pretty good year. So why not,
Right.
For him.
Yes. Juwan Taylor is good. Let me ask you a question. And is it who's the other offensive lineman for Florida that's going to be drafted eventually? Martez Ivey?
Yeah, he.
Did he not go this year?
He was a senior. Yeah, he graduated. I know that he was talking to some teams, starting as a free agent, but I haven't heard.
Okay.
If he did it yet.
That was one for me. I was a little surprised that Juwan Taylor is still a good pick. But I was kind of shocked. I mean, for all the preseason hype and the season he had, I didn't think he would have dropped that low. So everything else seemed to be pretty on par for the course. And, about 5 draft picks is what the major schools in the state should be averaging. So Florida kept up with that.
Yeah, and I was curious, too. I thought maybe C.C. Jefferson might slip in at the end there, too, in the DN. But I know he's had injury problems, too. So, but this draft is full of defensive linemen, linebackers, DNs, offensive tackles, which if I'm an NFL owner, although it's not exciting, that's like my first couple of rounds I'm going to spend on the line, both sides of the line, because that's very important. Winning in the trenches, all that cliche stuff. I'm on board with all that stuff, so I think they're smart to do that.
Absolutely, and there were just so many this year. You're absolutely right. and then 2 tight ends go in the first round from Iowa, mixed in there just to add some flavor.
Yeah, crazy stuff.
So, I think well done for the Gators. I didn't think there would be any first round picks going into it, but certainly pre or mid season, I thought, Florida's probably 80-90% shot at getting one in the first round. Just didn't happen this year.
Right. I'm a little surprised at that, to be honest, but maybe next year we'll see.
Sure. Any final thoughts on the Gators?
No, I think it was a little disappointing overall, but I'm happy for these guys, and I'm excited to see where they go, and good for Juwan staying in state too.
Yes, a lot of guys to the Jaguars, as we're going to see a trend.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. So we'll move on to the Florida State Seminoles then. 2 draft picks only this year. However, the first one was Brian Burns, defensive end, first round, 16th overall to the Panthers. And that was surprising to me. And he was the only hope, of course, of getting a high draft pick. Mm-hmm. But, even in our Florida Focus Awards, Ja'Kai Polite wins, in the state as the better D end than Brian Burns.
Yeah. Well, you saw the first handful of games, though, from Brian, though. We both were saying he's NFL talent. He's NFL ready,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not surprised that he went first round, and because we saw that from day one. As long as he was somewhat consistent and didn't get injured, he's going to be drafted pretty high, and he was.
Sure enough, he was drafted after 3 Clemson defensive linemen went, but before the 4th one. So.
Okay.
And I think Clinton Farrell of Clemson was kind of surprised to the Raiders. No one expected him to go that high. So that was kind of a shock. But, if last season he were to try out for Clemson's D-line, he might have started. And that'd have been about it. The other pick was DeMarcus Christmas, 6th round, 209th overall. He went to the Seahawks. And that is it. Just the two guys drafted. I think that I was joking with somebody. The DeMarcus Christmas 6th rounder was just to pad the stats, if you will, for Florida State. Hey, two guys drafted, you know. He wasn't even 7th round, I guess, necessarily. So, but 6th, that's pretty late.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. I thought they had more people going. But looking back, I'm like, yeah, outside of Burns, like I couldn't really name. I just assumed it because we're so used to it, you know?
Right. A lot of the defensive side of the ball, which is our strength, is young. Yeah. And the only other hope we had for a draft pick was Naquan Murray, and he was signed as a free agent but didn't get actually drafted. I think he has a tryout, I think, with Seattle as well.
Okay.
But I'm not certain. And we kept a lot of guys this year, or just didn't have NFL. Certainly our offensive line had no one, of course. So anyone else that was graduating just, didn't quite make the cut of the NFL talent.
Right.
So, any thoughts about those two Knowles or where they fell?
I think Burns is going to be a solid player for sure. Was it Carolina, right?
Carolina, yep.
Yeah. I think he's going to be a solid NFL player.
He's kind of funny, too. He did an interview with CBS Sports, I think it was, or Fox Sports, and this is before the draft. They said, when you become a defensive lineman, who's the first quarterback you want to sack? Without hesitation, Tom Brady.
Really?
I mean, she barely even finished the sentence or question, and he had a spat. She goes, whoa.
Yeah, he was thinking about that one.
Yeah, he didn't know. Yeah. Tom
That's
Brady.
funny.
I didn't even hesitate. So let's hope that those guys have some success. It's always interesting to play the I know he went to college on Sundays.
Right, yeah. I love that game. I do.
Yep. Good stuff. Okay, so that wraps up the Knowles. Let's go to the Miami Hurricanes. Pretty good draft for them, right?
Yeah, I was surprised. But then you look at who was drafted in 4 to 5 are on the defense side of the ball. So you're like, okay, that makes sense because they did have success last 2 years on that side of the ball.
Right. So I'm going to go through this list here. I think we confer that I had everybody correct. Sheldrick Redwine, corner, 4th round of the Browns. Michael Jackson, corner, 5th round of the Cowboys. Joe Jackson, defensive end, 5th round to the Cowboys. Jaquan Johnson, cornerback, 5th round of the Bills. Travis Homer, running back, 6th round of the Seahawks.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. The corners, the secondary was what surprised me. The linebackers are Miami's defensive strength, and so that's what caught me by surprise. And Travis Homer is kind of a pretty well-known name for anyone that's watched the ACC or the Hurricanes at all. So again, with the running backs going early, and that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. I find it interesting that Dallas, in the 5th round, drafted 2 players from Miami, both last name Jackson.
Yeah, only 7 picks apart.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Yep. So
but,
that was
good draft for them.
Yeah, and if I'm Manny Diaz, a new coach who was their defensive coordinator, that's what I'm pitching to all my recruits now.
Yeah.
Even if it was low in the rank, I got 5 guys in the NFL. So come play for me. I don't know how long that's going to last, but whatever.
Yeah, we'll see. That's an interesting experiment. We'll see how that works out.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna know week 0.
Yeah. No.
When they play in Orlando against the Gators. I'm just gonna laugh that entire game. I just don't know what to.
Yeah, I mean it's a lose. I mean, it reminds me of when Florida State played Tennessee in the championship game. I'm like, I don't want this game to happen.
Right.
Do, but I don't want this game to happen. Or like when the last 2 years Alabama plays Georgia, I'm like, I don't know what to do in this situation. I don't like you both.
Go referees.
Yeah, exactly.
Clean game, I guess.
Let's have a first tie in college football.
Yes. So anyway, that's still good quantity for the Canes to put 5 guys in the draft. So good kudos to them.
I am surprised.
Indeed. So that'll wrap up the Canes then. The UCF Knights could have one draft pick, Tristan Hill, defensive tackle. He goes in the second round, 58th overall to the Cowboys. And, yeah, I expected him to get a chance, but I thought it would honestly be third or fourth round.
Okay.
So, good for him to go that early. That means the paycheck's usually a little bigger.
Yeah.
And I would think him and a lot of the other DNs, Ja'Kai Polite, Brian Burns, they're going to be used as situational run stoppers, maybe on third and short, goal line, things like that. Maybe for the first year until they get the feel of the defense, and then they'll get turned loose. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that.
So even though the UCF Knights only had one player drafted, they did have a litany of players that are going to be going to rookie camps or signed as free agents. Let me just go through the list here real quick. Mac Loudermilk, punter. He'll be visiting the Bucks. I'll be following that guy pretty closely. He's interesting. Snelson, wide receiver, running back.
Right.
Causey, D-back. Jasinski, linebacker. Kubiali, tight end. McGowan, running back. Gibson, D-back. And then Matt Wright, kicker, as well as Miller, offensive line. All signed somewhere, and we'll try and make it through camp to start the year.
Yeah, I thought they would have a couple more, just given their recent success and last year's draft. A lot of picks, too. Thought there would be more spillover into the draft this year from them.
I think a lot of teams tend to look at the speed, which is why Snelson, to me, would have made a lot of sense.
Yeah, right.
Or McGowan, if you just wanted to go 6th or 7th round, pick up another running back, but just no interest there. So that was kind of surprising to me as well.
Mm-hmm.
Kickers and punters, you just don't draft those. The Tampa Bay
That's
Bucks,
rare.
Yeah, but the Tampa Bay Bucks are insistent upon this. They did it again. They drafted Roberto Aguayo, and that was a failure. And he's one of my favorite Knowles ever. Sorry, buddy. And then they drafted another kicker this year, Matt Gay from Utah. I don't understand what the Bucks are doing.
I don't see why, unless another Janikowski comes through, you don't need a kicker. Like, you don't need to draft a kicker.
Sure. And like Janikowski was drafted, that's just rare. And he still would have been there, even if all the picks were taken.
Yeah. Right. I don't know. And now with the new rules with the extra points and stuff, kickers are like a constant revolving door in teams. Like,
right.
I don't know why. It's weird to me.
I don't understand it, but there they go. Be interesting to see where all this lands. I don't know. I don't really have an NFL team, but if I followed one team, it'd be the Bucks because of some Knowles there.
Right.
So that's just an interesting move. A lot of teams made some interesting moves anyway.
Yeah.
But, good for the Knights to have so many guys close there.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, the other school that had draft picks was FAU, Florida Atlantic. Good job, Kiffin.
Yes.
You two guys drafted. Devin Singletary, no surprise here.
Right.
Third round, 74th overall, to the Bills. And then, is it pronounced Kerith White Jr., running back 7th overall. So really late in the draft there, 222nd overall. So
yeah, I'm curious to see how Singletary does, because he put up some PlayStation numbers here and there, but you could argue that it was overall weaker competition. So, but I think he's a talented player regardless, though. So I'm interested to see what he does.
Definitely the touchdown guy. So
yeah, exactly.
If you're able to feed the red zone, and I don't
Right.
know who the Bucks have. Sean McCoy sounds like he played there for a while, might still be there. But you let him get his wheels and learn the offense behind somebody else for a year or two, and he could start to do damage if he's given the right opportunity and stays healthy.
Right, exactly.
Yep. And then Kerith White, I think that's, again, just a pat the stats kind of, hey, we got a guy drafted. You should come play for us kind of deal. Best of luck to both of them.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right. This year, and this is the second time in, I believe, 5 years, the South Florida Bulls had no players drafted.
Ugh.
They did have two guys get signed as free agents. That would be McCants, the wide receiver, and Wilkins, the corner. So we'll see if those pan out.
Okay.
But we've talked enough about their struggles there in Tampa. Any thoughts about just what that means for the program?
Yeah, I don't know. I hate to say this. I don't know if Charlie Strong is a good head coach.
Ooh.
I just don't. Some people are just better at coordinators. I just don't know, man. I think it's time to pull the plug on him being a head coach.
Oh.
I
I don't know if I agree, but I can't really say too much to dispute that fact. I really can't.
I don't like saying it because I liked the guy. He seemed like a nice guy, and he did a lot of good things for Florida. But I mean, look at where he went. Texas, did they have success? Louisville, they did have mild success at Louisville,
Right.
with Bridgewater. I'll give them that. USF, no.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't see it. I don't know.
They had a good season in 2017 when he had a running quarterback. That's really the only thing you can point to. Yeah, and then, of course, Bridgewater at Louisville. Yeah, I mean, you're right. Some guys are just better coordinator. Randy Shannon ended up being a really good coordinator. He's a defensive coordinator for UCF Knights now. He was the head coach at Miami for a while and the defensive coordinator for the Gators. Was it 1 or 2 seasons?
A couple seasons. Even he filled in after McElwain, but
Anyway.
I'm not. Yeah, we didn't do good, but that's not his fault. I don't blame him for that. But I mean, you saw Ron Zook after Florida. He went to Illinois, had some mild success there, but he's doing a good job. He did a good job as a coordinator prior to and after. So,
Yep.
some people are just better at coordinators, man. And I think Charlie Strong is one of those guys. And I'm sorry, man. I don't like saying it, but that's.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm South Florida, I guess I'm content with him. You know, have a good season every 5 or 6 years, contend for the American. That's really all you can ask for.
Yeah, I can see that.
Get some couple of guys drafted. That didn't happen this season, but it will eventually. Yeah, maybe you're right. Moving on to another school in the state of Florida with also no draft picks, and that'll be the FIU Panthers.
Mm-hmm.
So there were a couple of guys that had an interesting story. Anthony Johnson, defensive lineman, free agent, and then their punter, Wilson, also free agent.
Mm-hmm.
The most interesting guy on the whole team for me as a Panther was C.J. Wharton.
Yes.
And his brother J.J. played for the Knights, and all you have to do is go to YouTube and Google J.J. Wharton catch. And Blake Bortles, when they played together for the Knights, just threw. It wasn't a great pass, but a perfect dime to the back of the end zone. He just laid out for it. So this is his brother.
Yeah, I think CJ. Transferred from Florida.
That's correct.
Yeah, okay, and then that sounded familiar.
So I think he actually got the workout with the Falcons, if I remember correctly, and so yeah, maybe he'll make the team. He was signed a free agent as well.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So at least these guys are getting a shot to see if they can prove themselves.
I think next year, the next few years, you might see some FIU Panthers getting drafted. I think so. I think they're heading in the right direction.
If you keep Morgan there, I liked his freshman season, then nowhere to go but up, and they just missed out on the conference playoff. So
right.
The coaching and everything is in place there, I think. So
yeah, I think they'll get there.
They could take that step for sure. All right. Well, that wraps up all the Florida schools. Any thoughts on the draft or any final parting wisdom to anyone who's listening in that might need fantasy football tips for any of these guys?
It is what it is. It's a lot of guessing and mock drafts, and then you get there and nothing is what people thought it was going to be. It was rather, I hate to use the word boring, but I still like it. Still a huge fan. I would love to actually go to one.
Right.
You know, that would be a cool experience just to see, because NFL fans are a different breed than college football fans.
Sure.
I think college football fans, I don't know what it is about it. Maybe it's the alcohol. It's just outside the student section.
Right.
It's just a different. I've been to both pro and NFL, and the way that the pro fans, I guess, dress up is different. They go all out.
Yes.
And it seems like this is their life. But I'd like to go to the draft and to boo or cheer. I don't know. It'd be cool to experience that at least once.
Sure. And I mean, they started with game day this year. So now they've actually seen, you know what, there's a good chance here to cross between the college game day crew and then the NFL commentators.
Yeah, exactly.
So why not capitalize there?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Good thoughts. I was, if I had to give one fantasy tip, that a lot of these guys are defensive players. So unless you're in a league where you get individual defensive points, a lot of these guys won't matter for your team. But if there was one guy I would say take very late and take a chance on, it would be Devin Singletary for the Bills.
Yeah,
that's the guy I would think. He's going to get touchdowns generally, and he's not going to play much this year, so that's why I wouldn't go after him aggressively. Maybe pick up as a free agent. Everyone else, you got to give at least one season, see what they do.
Yeah, right. I gotta get back into that fantasy football. I did for a long time, had kids, and kind of just stopped. But
that'll happen. Yeah,
I kind of want to get back into it now.
Yep. Well, there's college leagues too. And,
that I do like. Yeah.
That'll those will be coming around pretty soon. So stay tuned. We'll give you the tips that we have, the players that we kind of see. So cool.
So are we gonna go with the Florida Focus Fantasy Football? Is that where we're starting the 4F?
After the fourth power?
Yeah, the fourth.
What's your podcast?
I like it. Yes, just a pleasure. It's like, did you just sneeze? What?
Press fast forward twice on the VCR. What's a VCR? Okay, I don't know.
I don't know what happened. I asked him what the podcast name was, and he had a stroke. So.
Yeah. He sneezed or something? I don't.
Yeah.
The podcast is a bunch of syllables. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
So, well, a couple of things here. If you're looking to get our 2018 NFL Draft recap, that's episode 8. We'd appreciate you, first of all, subscribing to the show, and second of all, go back and listen to what our thoughts were from last season. I did want to give a quick shout out to the Football History Dude. This is a very good podcast if you want to check it out, and I'll put his information in the show notes. He loves the NFL, and he talks about going back in a DeLorean, and he talks about the history of the NFL. He does a very, very good job. It's all in story form. Okay. It's very well narrated. He also does what's called My Favorite Football Moment, and I think I discussed this with you, Chris, but I told you I'm going to submit My Favorite Football Moment to his show. Well, he played that in one of his most recent episodes. So I will put a link to that episode. I encourage you to go hear Brandon's favorite football memory. It is definitely college football related, and it's dealing with the Florida State Seminoles. So I'll leave it at that. It's a pretty fun one. It's about 2.5, 3 minutes long.
Okay, cool. I was about to ask, is it just NFL, but it's any football? Okay.
Right. Well, I think all the other ones were NFL, but I was up front with them, and I said, mine's going to be college related, so.
So deal with it.
Pretty much. So it was back in my college days, and I'll just let you go listen to it. It was a fun journey for sure.
Okay.
So the draft, in our opinion, was pretty basic and went off without too many hitches, Chris. But if other fans thought otherwise, how can they get in touch with us to tell us?
All right. Go to FloridaFocusPodcast.com. And it's a central hub there. And also you can hit us up Facebook and YouTube, Florida Focus Podcast, Twitter at Florida Focus Pod. Email us maybe what you think of your team's draft picks, whether it's college or pro, at Florida Focus Podcast at yahoo.com. Instagram, FL Focus Pod, and please support us on our Patreon account.
Yes, and on all of those sites, we have a brand new logo that I am slowly over time updating. So let me know what you think of that. We wanted to go with something a little more true to the teams that we cover, and the show has definitely evolved since our launch in March of 2018, and so we wanted the new logo to reflect that. If you see a different color scheme, it's because it's the state of the Florida outlined in green.
Yeah, you don't think, oh, did I go to the wrong site? Nope, just read the fine print. You're there.
That's us. Awesome. Well, thank you, Chris, as always. Thank you to the fans for listening. Again, we would appreciate any feedback. whether it's through any of those venues or in the form of a rating. If you think we're doing well, please tell us why. If you think we can do better, please tell us why. So this is Brandon saying, go Noles.
Go Gators.